First in, we have learned that the FBI raided a third location related to indicted Trump associate Roger Stone, in addition to two of his homes, one in New York and one in Florida. This third location is a storage unit in Florida. And Stone said today he has no intention of cutting a deal with special counsel Robert Mueller. Stone spoke with camera crews outside his Fort Lauderdale home before heading to Washington for his arraignment tomorrow. In a Sunday morning interview, he left the door open to talking with Mueller. We have our chief political analyst, Gloria Borger, here, along with April Ryan. She's a CNN political analyst and White House correspondent for American Urban Radio Networks. So what do you make, Gloria, and it's hard to sort out, but what do you make of Roger Stone leaving the door open to talking with Mueller, also about conversations with the president? That was interesting. Now he's saying, no, I won't cut a deal. What do you make of all this?
Well, first of all, I think we have to step back and ask the question about whether the special counsel wants to cut a deal with Roger Stone.
That's a good point.
I mean, Roger Stone is not exactly the most credible witness that you would want testifying on your behalf. So I'm not quite clear that the special counsel would be running to Roger Stone and saying, please cooperate with me. It's clear that they were interested in getting a lot of his recording devices, and as you just talked about, and that they want a lot of equipment from him because they want more details, perhaps, of his emails, et cetera, et cetera. But whether they want Roger Stone, who has already said, I will not bear false witness against the president, I think is kind of an open question. I cannot see Mueller asking him to flip.
Yeah, because he said to testify against the president, basically he would have to lie. That's what Roger Stone is saying.
So, there you go.
We know that he's lied. That's very well laid out in the charging documents. What did you make of all of these things we heard from Roger Stone?
Back and forth this weekend. Let's go for that. So I talked to some of my sources, and they said, no, it was never about I'm going to turn. It was about the fact that he's supposedly going to tell the truth. I'm like, wow, for Roger Stone, that's a big thing. They said it's about truth versus trying to do a plea deal or anything like that. And also my source says that they believe that Roger Stone did, what he's accused of doing. So Roger Stone's MO, even in his own circles, is just what we look and see of him. Roger Stone is this larger-than-life person who is a friend of the president. Birds of a feather flock together. They tape people. They have emails. They have paper trails. And people in that circle do what that circle does. And we've seen Michael Cohen with tapes. The president, and I think back to even when President Trump had that back and forth with Comey, James Comey. He said, let's see if there's a tape. And
there wasn't, or nothing came out.
That's what the president said there wasn't. That's what the president said that there wasn't. But Donald Trump,
there might be.
Yeah, right. Donald Trump, who was once a business tycoon, ruthless, they would say. That was his MO of taping. And so if he taped, they're going to look to see if there's any corroboration with Michael Cohen's tapes and with Roger Stone's tapes. So we have to wait and see how this plays out. But he doesn't have clean hands, and the best bet is to tell the truth.
You say he's larger than life. I mean, for sure, right? He's known for hyperbole. And just for instance, look at his description today of his arrest by the FBI on Friday.
To storm my house with a greater force than was used to take down bin Laden or El Chapo or Pablo Escobar, to terrorize my wife and my dogs, it's unconscionable. I would have been more than happy. They knew I was represented. Had they contacted my attorneys, I would have voluntarily turned myself in. I would have been able to wear a suit and tie for my mugshot. It would have looked a lot better.
Okay, the FBI just knocked on his door.
Right.
Okay,
and he's saying his dogs.
He's saying that they stormed. They stormed the house with the same. I mean, he's likening it to the Bin Laden raid. They knocked on the door. They had a warrant.
At one
this
point
is just
he said
vintage
they were
Roger
polite,
Stone.
didn't he? At one point he said they were polite.
He said basically the agents who were taking him to the courthouse or to be arrested were polite.
Right. And look. The FBI wants to make sure that, first of all, nobody exits through a back door. They want to be able to get everything they can get. There is always an element of surprise. If they have notified him in advance, documents could have been destroyed, hard drives could have been, you know, there was a whole lot of stuff that could have been destroyed. And I think the element of surprise is really important. And they had to have people then, after they took him, go search the house and execute the search warrant. And that doesn't take one person or two people.
And Gloria is right about the element of surprise. Just hours prior to the raid, Roger Stone had a gathering at his home with very influential people, according to a source.
Real interesting, very interesting.
Yes,
influential people. You gonna leave it at that?
Look, I had to fight just to get that one.
All
so,
right.
Yeah.
Okay. What kinds of people?
Close to the president.
Okay.
Yes, he had a gathering at his home hours prior to, and a source that was one of the sources said, you know, it's interesting. The FBI was probably watching us when we were in that home.
That is interesting. So we're learning some details about Attorney General nominee Bill Barr's written answers to questions that are part of the confirmation process. In one answer, he says that no one asked him for a promise not to recuse from the Russia investigation, and that he's not discussed the possibility of recusal with anyone from the White House. What's your reaction to that, April?
You know, the bottom line, you can't depend on anything from the White House. You know, they'll say one thing one minute, you know, about one thing, and another thing if I've got protection up. But recusal is a big issue, and I think at this moment, I don't know, you have to watch it play out, because how the president reacts about anyone recusing themselves from anything. I just think right now, I just want to sit and wait about how this recusal plays out, because we've seen how it plays out before, and you know, with Jeff Sessions, and let's just see how it all plays out. But recusal is a huge thing in this Trump era.
Indeed. I want to ask you about Chris Christie's book, because I keep asking you on different days about it, but we've learned something new, and that is that he describes how he and his wife they have lunch with President Trump and his son-in-law advisor Jared Kushner the day after Michael Flynn, the national security advisor, has been fired, and Trump says that the Russia issue is over because of the firing, and Kushner agrees with him. He basically parrots that assessment, and Christie says that he essentially says, yeah, I'm not so sure about that. What did you think about this anecdote?
Well, it's not surprising given Christie's relationship with Jared, and I think the way that Kushner is portrayed, and there is truth to it, is that he's sort of been at the nexus of every bad decision that the White House has made, and some good ones, but Christie is focusing on, for example, the firing of Comey. And, you know, Jared says that he had nothing to do with it, but he approved of it, and he thought that it wouldn't really create the ruckus that it caused, because, of course, Democrats didn't like Comey, and Christie told him, you're kidding me, right? Of course, it's going to create a ruckus. And, you know, he pushed for the hiring of Manafort during the campaign, and you can go over your list of things. And Christie is not forgiving to Jared because, of course, they have a long history. He put his father in jail, and he believes
That's
that,
a big one.
he believes,
that's a huge one.
and then wouldn't release him from jail early. And, you know, he believes that Jared has stood in his way with this White House. And don't forget, Christie was fired from the transition.
That's right.
After Trump got elected. And who took over the transition basically was Jared Kushner.
And Christie is not in the inner circle right now in that White House, too.
Tell us, briefing at 3:30 now. We just found out there's a White House briefing.
Yeah, we did.
What is this about? Because the narrative right now isn't good for the president.
No, it's not. He's this winner, this larger-than-life, I keep using that word, larger-than-life winner. Everything is great. It's magnificent. Even the economy at the time of the shutdown, he was saying it's better than it's ever been, and you had people not getting paid, and the GDP had not grown. So Sarah Huckabee Sanders has got to come out and put this polish on this tarnished image right now. This president is wounded from Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer with this shutdown, but she's going to come out and speak from a stance of strength if she can. If she can. And if they're talking government shutdown, people don't want that anymore. And if they're talking that again, we're going to see how she works that out. We've got a lot of issues. You've got the issue of Venezuela. You've got so much on the table. She has to speak. This is the first I don't even know how long. The first press briefing we've had in a long time. I will be there to see what she has to say.
She will project strength. I think you were definitely right about that, April. She's going to try to project. She will at least project it, even if she's not coming from a position of strength. April Ryan, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Gloria Borger.
Thank you.
Food shortages?